What up, everybody? It's brisk out here. My ears are freezing. We're outside today. It's a little chilly day. And just kind of out piddling around in the garage. And today is a very special day. We hit 1,000 subs today. Thank you, everyone. It's greatly appreciated. Wasn't sure we were ever going to get there, honestly. It's kind of, I've been doing this for about 3 years now, and this video actually that I'm videoing right now will actually be our 100th upload. So, been doing it for a little while. I think it's been almost 3 years. Actually, it's probably almost 3 years to the day that I started doing this. And, most people say 3 to 5 years is usually what it takes for stuff to really start to take off. And, we're at the 3,000 or 3-year mark to hit 1,000 subs. Next goal, I want to hit 5. I want to hit 5,000 subs. But I'm super, super thankful for you guys that keep following along and watching and stuff. As time goes on, we'll get better. We'll get better content. We'll get more stuff going. I'm kind of in this for the long haul. So, at some point I would like, to do this all the time and be able to bring more content and travel and do all kinds of fun stuff. But I just got to keep the ball rolling and keep trudging along, and we'll get there. And, you guys are going to come with me. But today, like I said, special day. So I'm just out here messing around with the old four-wheeler here. And it's getting cold out, and I kind of want to do some ripping around. And so I'm trying to mess with this, and I'm actually going to lower the front end of this, I think, possibly. But I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to try and adjust these coils just like that. That didn't really seem like it did anything. But yeah, so try and soften this thing up a little bit by adjusting these coils. Maybe I get my spanner on there. Oh. But come on now. Apparently all that did was just take some preload off of it, but that's okay. It wasn't real stiff anyhow. It's pretty soft. Wonder what the back's like. Most people probably don't know, but I grew up in the country. My family had like 50 acres, and I used to ride four-wheelers and dirt bikes and stuff all the time. It was out where we lived in middle of nowhere, Missouri. The closest town was like, what was it? Probably 20, 25 miles. Well, no, that's not true. You can make it shorter. I think the closest one was like 12 miles or something, but you had to take gravel roads. If you want to drive the highway and not get what is that? I don't know what that is. Is that a stick? Maybe. Yep, that's exactly what that is. But yeah, if you wanted to not drive gravel, then it was about 25 miles to the nearest town. I grew up in a town of like 530 people or something. Graduated in a class, I think there was like 19 or 20 kids in my graduating class. Pretty small. Very small, honestly. But yeah, all we did was farm and hunt, and I wasn't much of a hunter or a farmer for that matter. Part of the reason why I didn't stay. Long after I graduated, I moved to Kansas City and been here ever since. And I like the city life to an extent, but the the country life is pretty, I won't say boring, but because there's always stuff to do out in the country, whether it be riding four-wheelers, building jumps, four-wheeler tracks, go-karts, dirt bikes, hunting, farming, cow tipping, you know, all that good stuff. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I was just gonna give you a little bit of info about me and where I come from. You know, I got into cars at an early age. Yeah, my dad was a drag racer. Helped sand and paint the first race car, or at least in my head was my dad's first race car. It's a 72 Dodge Challenger. Bought it from a guy. I remember the guy's name too. His name was Ronnie Scott. Had the name on the side of the car and everything. And I think it was Ronnie Scott. Ron Scott. Something like that. But 72 Dodge Challenger. And we painted it. We painted in Dad's garage. And I remember going out and getting in a bucket of water with some sandpaper and just sanding my life away. But at the time, that's all I ever wanted to do was be out in the garage with my dad. And we don't get to do that stuff much anymore. We're about 3 hours away. He's getting a little older. I'm getting a little older. And now looking back, the age I'm at now was pretty much the age my dad was at whenever we started doing stuff like that. You know, maybe even a little younger than I am now. But painted multiple cars as a kid. Built my first engine when I was 12. Put that in an old 72 Dodge pickup truck. I don't know if you see a trend here. I'm kind of a Dodge guy. You wouldn't know it because the boost knuckle and most of my cars have LS swaps in them. But that being said, I like the aesthetics and, you know, all the Mopar stuff. But the power plant is pretty expensive. Anything Mopar is pretty expensive. And obviously, Chevrolet stuff's pretty cheap. I'm cheap. So that's what we get. But, you know, growing up in the country, we didn't have a lot to do. You know, we had cows and four-wheel drive mud trucks, and we drove through ponds. And I've got pictures somewhere of an old pickup truck I had. Me and my dad drove it through our little pond on our property and got stuck, and Dad fell in the pond. It was pretty cool. Then we had to have one of the neighbors come down with a truck and try and pull us out. He couldn't get us out, so then we ended up getting the tractor and pulling it out with the tractor. But we always did dumb stuff like that out in the country. But pretty much anything with an engine on it. I mean, at a young age, go-karts, dirt bikes, four-wheelers, you know, up until I got to a point where I could drive cars and stuff. It was like anything with an engine, I could drive fast and, you know, be irresponsible. That's what I wanted to do. Got into Hondas, you know, at an early age, you know, when the whole Fast and the Furious craze started happening. At the time, I had a 73 Dodge Dart, you know, 360 Mopar in it, and that was a pretty cool car. Pulled the motor out of an old truck that sit in the field next to my Votech classroom, and it was actually a truck of the school. They used it like a service truck, drive around the school property and do stuff. And at some point, I think it actually locked up. I think is what had happened. I think the motor locked up and they parked it. And then I ended up buying a torque wrench for the school because at the time I worked at O'Reilly's. I bought a torque wrench from O'Reilly's, 1/4 inch drive stuff for like bolting cylinder heads together and stuff, or at least like overhead cam stuff, cam caps and stuff. Something that you needed like lower torque numbers on that you couldn't do with like a 1/2 inch torque wrench. Bought that for the school and traded it for the engine and transmission out of this truck. And I bet we pulled it out, and I bet I spent a solid week, because I'd go to Votech for like 3 hours a day. I bet I spent a solid week just cramming at the time, because I built my first engine when I was 12, but I ain't never taken one apart. My dad, my 400 that I built, my dad had torn apart, and we went through and freshened it up, put it back together. Obviously, I needed his help. I couldn't do it by myself. But when at the time I was 16, 17 years old, and I got this 360 for my Dart. It was the first car I ever bought. $500 is what I paid for this thing, and it'd been painted with a paint roller. Holes in the floor. It was a hideous car. I'd give anything to have that car back too. Yeah, I bet I spent a week trying to unfreeze this motor, cramming WD-40 down the cylinders and just rocking the crank back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And finally I got to break loose. Any normal person in their right mind, and me, knowing what I know now, everything about that said that was a bad idea. To use that motor, put it in something without taking it apart, was a bad idea. Surprisingly, it went in, it ran, it did its thing, and it ran for some time. Looking back, it probably ran for a year, maybe a little longer. But I beat the ever-living crap out of this thing, and went to Mexico sometimes and raced a buddy of mine in his IROC Camaro, which at the time he and I were not friends, and then became friends, and now he's practically a brother. But we go out and we street race in Mexico and run from the cops and do all kinds of irresponsible things, which don't do that. That's terrible. Please obey the laws. Those are all things you don't really think about or care about when you're a kid that age. But now getting older and being a dad and stuff, you look back and you're like, man, that was really stupid. But those are all things that led me to where I'm at now. Race cars, building fast cars, building cheap cars from nothing, and just trying to do as much as I could with what little I had. And, here I am 20 years later, and I'm still doing the exact same thing. When I turned, I got out of Votech and got out of high school, I went to a dealership, worked at a Ford dealership for some time, and certain things led me to a point where I had a couple Hondas at the time. I had this car then, and I daily drove it for a while. Had another car that I built and sold so I could move to Kansas City. Came to Kansas City, got married, got divorced, all the above, the normal life stuff, it seems. But the only thing that stayed true and apparent in my life was cars. Cars, motorsports in general, just anything. I probably love riding four-wheelers and dirt bikes probably about as much as I love racing cars. Give me 100 acres, trees and hills, and put me on a four-wheeler or dirt bike, I'll ride my life away out there in the fields. But I love it all. Anything with an engine, I love it all. I like going fast. Who doesn't like to go fast? If you don't like to go fast, you're on the wrong channel. That's for sure. But here we are, here a few years ago I decided I was going to try and start a YouTube channel. A few of my buddies, they saw me and, the job that I do and the work I do at home and, playing with cars and playing with my own stuff. And they were like, man, you need to start your own channel. Like, people watch that stuff. I'm like, man, I don't know, country boy trying to live in the city and acting like he's an engine builder and acting like he's a car builder and race car builder and all that. Nobody wants to watch that, But here I am, and here you are, and we're on the road. And growing up in a small town, at this point I have more people subscribed to my YouTube channel than there was in the town that I grew up in, which is pretty cool. We're practically double on the subscribers than there were in the town that I grew up in. Back then 500 some people seemed like a big place to me until I come to Kansas City and realized how big things really can be and how small you can feel in such a big place. And YouTube's a big place, and MRE Motorsports is a small place inside that much larger place. But I'd like to get to a point where I'm not just known by 1,000 people, 1,000 subscribers, and I'd like to be known by tons of people, hundreds of thousands of people, and people want to be a part of it and follow it and stuff, and that amazes me, that people get that interested in people's lives and what they do and their passion for cars and whatever it is, anything on YouTube. There's guys that build decks and do all kinds of stuff. It's not just car related, obviously, but it just amazes me how people get all you guys to want to follow, and get to know them and learn about them and learn things for yourself and help better yourself and get you to do things. And a lot of these smaller channels like this and automotive channels in general, a lot of those guys, they start out small, and they get to a point and then they start buying supercars and and doing all this fancy stuff, and it all sounds really good, but that's not me. I'm not a supercar guy, Would I like to own one? Honestly, probably not. I didn't grow up that way. I never had a desire, like they were cool because they were flashy and they were a lot of money, and you by buying one or having one, like you proved something, but in my eyes, like I'm that guy that I want to build a 1,000 horsepower, 94 Honda Civic and go out and whip up on supercars, or your $250,000 supercar or whatever. It's like I built this thing in my garage. I painted it multiple times in sheds and built motors in sheds and all by myself and stuff like that, and building cars for my friends and stuff. It's really rewarding. It gets pretty tiresome sometimes and you get frustrated and whatnot, but building these cars and videoing them, putting them on YouTube and stuff, and being able to come back and look at them later, that's where I get the enjoyment and stuff out of, where I'm reminded of why I do this. And I'm like, man, that's really cool. I got to do that and I got to build that, and I get proud. It makes me proud, and hope my dad's proud of me one day, and enjoys watching this stuff when he gets older, and maybe he'll decide to sit down and figure out how to watch YouTube. I think he still has a flip phone, so he's not out here watching the YouTube channel and watching videos and seeing what I do. I gotta call him every day and tell him what I'm doing, because he don't know. But we'll get there one day. We'll get big. Like I'm big. I'd like to think we'd get big, and big enough to where I can travel and meet all you guys, and at events and stuff like that, and see hang out with the Boosted Boys and all that stuff, and travel all over the country, and just add some texture. I know a lot of what I do is pretty similar to what you would see on like Cletus or Boosted Boys and some of these guys, but in the end, anything automotive related to normal grassroots guys leads to all that same stuff. It's just funny because most of those guys started out at the bottom, didn't have a lot of money, but had the love and the passion for fast cars, but building them cheap, as cheap as you can. It's anywhere you look, all these guys, they all do the same stuff, but it's just, life's about the journey and the stories and all that stuff. So it's like you guys follow along and watch all these different YouTube channels. You see all the different stories, and it's funny to see how they all overlap, and then you end up running into these guys, and it's just, the world's such a small place, and you'd never think that you'd meet these people and and relate to them, and You really do. It's crazy how small the world really is, and how much we all really have in common, you know, in every aspect of automotive industry and all that stuff. It's crazy. You know, it's pretty neat, and I'm glad to be a part of it, and I'll be a part of it until the day I die. You know, I'll never give this up. Anybody thinks, you know, oh, one day I'm gonna stop building cars, or I'm gonna stop, you know, playing with four-wheelers and stuff like that. You just weren't in it, you know. You obviously didn't have the love and the passion, because this stuff's in your blood, and it'll never go away. And you know, I was born and raised in this stuff, and you know, cars and anything with an engine, you know, that stuff just comes first nature to me. It's as easy to do that as it is to eat, you know, feed myself. You know, if I quit working on cars, I might as well quit eating. You know, I might as well quit feeding myself and just wait till the end. But anyways, I don't know if that was sad and depressing or boring or what, but it was more or less just kind of a little rundown of me, MRE Motorsports, and where I come from, how I got here, and you know, a little bit of why I love why I do this, why I love it, and you know, what direction I hope we go from here. But it's all thanks to you guys. You know, I've been doing this stuff for years, but you know, making videos and doing stuff like that helps push me to build more stuff, build better stuff, you know, because I'm putting it out there for people to see, and just makes me a better person. So I appreciate you all for that. My voice sounds like I'm starting to lose it. But anyways, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Don't forget, comment, like, subscribe. Go check out the merch store, MREmotorsports.com. I do have some stuff in the works for hats. They won't be on the website. I'm getting these done locally, so I will have them. So then once I make them available, I'll make a post, and maybe I'll make a video about it, throw it in here, and show you guys what I got coming for hats and beanies. We got some beanies coming as well. Not a big order of them. I put in a decent sized order just to see if anybody liked them and if they wanted them. I haven't figured out pricing yet on them yet, but when I do, like I said, I'll make a video about it, or you know, add it into a video, and then give you all a link, and then you can send me your info, and I'll get them boxed up and shipped out. The shirts and stuff on the website do take a little longer than I would hope, or than I'd like, but since I go through their website, I'm kind of at their mercy of when they do it, when it gets processed and shipped out and stuff. Most of them, I think it's like a week and a half to maybe 2 weeks at most, but it's not horrible considering how shipping and stuff is right now, and getting product and all that stuff. But the hats, when I get them done, I will have them, and I should be able to get them boxed up and shipped out in like a day or so. And then you know, assuming they go good and you know, people buy them, then I'll put in another order, and I'll just continue to get them and change styles and so on and so forth. But we'll see what happens. But don't forget, comment, like, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you.